right, race fans, welcome back to Slingin Dirt Media. Again, we're back here in the shop with Trevor Landrum. Trevor, you really don't have a nickname, do you?
No, nothing yet.
Maybe something we can work on that. I mean, I called Brad. Said, Brad, I need some nicknames. What do you got? And he said, man, he said, I've called Trevor a couple of different things. But he said, I never really had a good nickname for him. I said, well, we'll have to work on that. Maybe we'll call Carl. Carl can come up with something.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with something. It's something I've always thought about. Nothing's really ever stuck. There's definitely some nicknames out there that I would love to have.
There's probably a couple that you don't want to know about.
Yeah. I say the high side tickler. It was always, even though I don't run the high side, but
is there a low side tickler?
Yeah, something like that. It just that sounds pretty cool. Bobby, smooth operator. I like that a lot.
I liked when Billy Vaughn used to be called the small cool. When Bob Pierce was the tall cool and Billy Vaughn was the small cool.
Yep. Yeah. So there's definitely some out there that I like, but nothing's really ever stuck for me. So.
Maybe sometime here soon, a couple more wins, something will come up.
A couple more wins or wreck a couple people or something. You're
gonna get called something. So let's back up a little bit. Let's go back to kid. Trevor's a kid growing up. You said you did some quarter midget stuff. Did you do any other sports? Any baseball, football, anything like that?
Yeah, there for a while. I do remember. I raced, played baseball, played basketball, played football. Mm-hmm. Jesse Lay was my coach for a long time in basketball.
Yeah.
So
he likes basketball. He's big into that stuff.
Yeah. So now
I don't get it.
He used to be my coach, and now I race against him.
Now you race against him. Yeah.
But I played with him in Austin in basketball. Basketball was probably the one I hung on to the longest. Mm-hmm. I quit baseball pretty quick. Was not a fan. Played football for a while. I enjoyed it, but ended up just focusing on basketball. And then I really did enjoy basketball. I wasn't the greatest at it, but I did my best.
Yeah, and, I didn't last long baseball. I think I played it in the fifth grade one time. It's like, I'm done. Give me my baseball, my football, and I was good.
I was probably better at football. I just I think I was just too lazy probably for it.
Right. I even dabbled in a little soccer. Did you ever play soccer?
No, I never did soccer. My sister Ashley did, but
I thought there was a lot of running in basketball. No, play some soccer. Yeah. There's some running there.
Yeah, that looks. I can watch it on TV now. I used to never be able to watch it on TV, but I can at least, if the World Cup or something's going on, I'll turn it on.
Yeah, it's still tough to watch. I mean, I don't mind sitting and watching, I guess, and having a nice drink. And people say, how do you watch baseball? It's like, well, I guess if you're drinking, anything's good.
Yeah, that's something I cannot watch.
Baseball.
I'll watch clips of it like on Facebook or something, but I cannot just sit down and watch a baseball game. I don't think I understand enough about the game.
It's way different actually being at the game. It's fine being there. It's the whole atmosphere. You're getting the hot dogs and whatever. And that's great. But to sit there and watch it, it's tough. I'm not gonna lie and say it's great or it's easy. But anyway, so other than racing, played a few sports. So if there was no racing, what kind of hobby? What would Trevor be doing now?
Probably somewhere along the lines of what I'm still doing. If you take the race car out, I got a full-time job at Best Buy. Been there for about 6 years. I don't really know if I would be there.
Right.
It was the biggest reason of getting a job at Best Buy. More money means more race car parts.
Right.
So it would be somewhere along the lines of that, or helping Dad with his body work.
Yeah.
Restoring old cars, somewhere along the lines.
Something with cars.
Yeah. It would end up still being with cars. I was signed up for school to be a Ford tech.
Okay.
So ended up not going to it.
Right.
But I also signed up to go to Uno, and then I was like, well, I'm racing here too. I don't really want to be 2.5 hours away.
Sure.
So
racing consumes a lot of our lives. Yeah. There's a lot of dedication to it, and people don't always realize some of the things you give up, or some of the other, maybe, I'm not going to say dreams, but other paths that could have been taken. It's like, man, I don't want that to get in the way of this.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely there's a lot of project cars sitting around here that we could have sure had done by now if this thing wasn't sitting here.
I was told one time, I'm not gonna say who. Somebody told me one time. He said, "Man, as long as you got a race car, he said you'll never have any of that other stuff that you want."
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that was 100% accurate, but it's funny how now I don't have a race car, and now I've got some of the cool toys that I wanted then, the nice Corvette's pretty cool, my Harley's pretty cool, camper. I got some pretty cool stuff, but I don't have the race car. So I guess I could give all that up, but my wife probably wouldn't care too much for that idea either. So, you do any hunting, fishing, anything like that?
I don't do any hunting. Usually it's too cold or too early in the morning for me to do all that.
I used to deer hunt religiously. I mean, I would revolve vacation around deer hunting. We went deer hunting every year, but it's like, then I really got heavy into racing. It's like, no, I'm going to race, and racing is a little more priority.
Yeah, exactly. I like to do a lot of fishing though. A lot of deep sea fishing, especially me and Austin Mills and Ethan will all go down there and do some deep sea fishing. Dad's coming this year, which even like when me and Dad would just go to Daytona and stuff, we'd still go deep sea fishing. So
now, do you guys go out on that side, is it Atlantic side, or do you guys go over to the Gulf side and go out?
So the Gulf side, when we go to Destin, we'll go out. That's probably the most fun I've had fishing.
Yeah.
We've caught a lot of good stuff. The last time we went out, I caught a really good sized redfish that I'd like to get mounted at some point. That's a good hobby. I don't get to do it enough.
Yeah, that's fun. I went out with a buddy of mine. He moved to Fort Myers, Mike Clemens. I don't know, you may or may not remember. I think your dad probably knows him. He moved to Florida a few years ago, and they had a 50th birthday party. We went down. We went to Key West. We went to Keys and stuff, and I think there was five of us went out on an all-day fishing trip. It was about 20 miles out, and man, we caught so much fish. This table wouldn't hold all the fish that we caught. I mean, it was just so much fun, and there were some big ones on there. I got some pictures of some nice stuff, but I wanted a sailfish so bad. We were trying, and it was on our way back there, and the captain was like, he says, this is going to be the area, and man, we had these daggone seagulls kept coming and trying to mess with our lines or bait or whatever, and it didn't work out, but man, we caught a lot of fish, big stuff.
Yeah.
We fed, so we had that evening, the dock, the pier, wherever we went out from, there's a local restaurant right there. They will actually let you bring in your catch, and they'll prepare it and all that stuff. And I think it was like $18 a head, which that's, we were good with that. The employees got to make something and all that stuff. We fed over 30 people.
Wow. And
just made a dent in the amount of fish that we caught. I mean, I think it might maybe half or whatever. It was a lot of fish. It was good.
Yeah. We'll do that. The same thing in Destin is like right where they dock us up at. He'll take it and fillet it, and we'll take it right inside right then. So it's the freshest fish you'll ever eat.
I haven't been to Destin. My wife went last year on a girls' trip. She said, we're going back. So I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I love Destin. We're going back there again at some point this year. It's definitely a cool area, a lot of good fishing. There's 4 of us that went out last year, and we weren't there at the first spot we went to for 10 seconds, and we were all 4 reeling
pulled
up
them
something.
in, huh?
Yep.
Gotcha.
So we hit our limit pretty quick. Went to a couple different spots. The dolphins came in and started rowing in that spot, so we had to find a new one. And then we did some inshore fishing.
Right.
So that's probably the most fun that I have on the vacations now.
Yeah, fishing.
The fishing part. I could sit out there and do it all day long if I could.
All right, well, we're going to jump out of the waters, literally. Let's jump into the dirt.
All right.
Let's sling a little of that. So, how many seasons you going on in the Super?
Putting me on the spot here.
A few now.
Yeah, started in 16, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, started Super Racing.
So we're a
16.
few seasons in.
Yeah.
Obviously, Florence's schedule's changed a little bit, so probably not going to be a full timer at Florence this year. What's your guys' schedule? Do you sit down and look at, okay, this schedule's changed, so I've got to make changes, and here's where I want to run, or what's that looking like for you?
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of doing that now. I've got 2 ginormous calendars that me and my girlfriend Paige are working on at home right now.
Right.
Pretty much on the first one, I'm just going through any race that I would ever think about going to that would pique my interest a little bit.
Right.
We're going and writing all those down. I'm going to bring that one out. Me and Dad are going to sit down and actually go through it, what makes sense to go race. And then the second calendar will have all that.
Yeah.
So like on the first one, I got races from Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio.
Get to spread those wings a little bit.
Pennsylvania, Nebraska. I mean, I've got a lot. I've always wanted to go to Lernerville, so That would be a cool one to go to. The payout at I-80 really made me happy for what they were doing with the payout last year.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go out there to Nebraska. They're spreading a lot of money throughout the field, not just on that first spot.
So what's the farthest place you've been to from home now? Right now, home is where you're close to Florence. So
yeah.
Always been your home track. What's probably been the farthest track that you've been to so far?
I'd say probably 411.
411
down
okay.
in Tennessee. We went there once last year on a Monday night. So just go down there and hang out. Very cool racetrack. Love to go back. Plan to go back a bunch this year.
Right.
Very slick, top to bottom. Got to handle the race car around there.
Finesse.
Yep.
You've got a really good person to teach you how to do that.
Yeah, he's won a couple races.
That guy's probably one of the best finesse drivers that I've ever seen.
Yeah. So. He's definitely, and he taught me a lot while we were there. Running on a slick racetrack up at Florence is nothing compared to an actual black slick racetrack like that. Because there's nights at Florence you think it's slick, and then you go down to a place like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, this is a whole nother ball game here.
So we talk about Florence being slick. You may not actually have been in long enough to get the black slick, the black ice days that we had at Florence when the racetrack looked like your number here. Gosh, I had guys telling me, it was literally like driving with an egg under your throttle. He said, and there's just picture one under your brake too. He said, either way you go with it, you don't want to break those eggs. I'm like, okay. So that was, of course, different track.
I think I just missed that.
You just missed that cutoff.
I just missed all that. So the track can be fun now. Like you said, the black slick, nowadays still has traction in it.
Yes.
So
it's a different black slick. When it gets there, which is not often, but when it does get there, it's a little different.
Yeah, and it makes for good racing. But I wouldn't want to see a racetrack right around the bottom, just like I don't want to see a racetrack right around the top.
I get it. On all sides of it, man. It's hard to find that happy medium.
Oh yeah,
and it really is. So, speaking of happy, do you have a favorite track that makes you happy? It's like, man, I really look forward to being back at this place, or is it Florence, or is it somewhere local, or does Trevor have a favorite track?
Yes and no. There's definitely times that Florence is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Florence is a very nice racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
I think until me and Dad started traveling a little bit, I was a little spoiled. Because I really didn't understand, how nice. I even talked about it at the banquet, how nice the lighting is at Florence. Oh, you go to another racetrack, and you don't even think about it until it gets dark in that feature.
Right,
like, man, you really can't see.
Man, it's hard to hit your marks every time when you can't see the dirt or can't see. There's holes that you can't see because there's a big dark spot right in the middle of turn 2 or whatever it is. Yeah.
So Florence being that close, obviously is an advantage.
Sure.
Other tracks, 411 was really nice to go to. Just the banking and a new experience, a new challenge, stuff like that. The most fun I had at all last year racing was over at Lawrenceburg.
Really?
For the one race that we had
there.
The
one race there, yeah.
I
heard it was late. I heard you guys were late getting out of there.
We were a little late, but I had an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Me and Austin and Robbie, we raced there for the lead, and it was a great time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little choppy, but with Lawrenceburg, when it gets choppy, it's not like a rough like it would be at Florence.
Mm-hmm.
It just adds character. You can get through it still. You can go around it. If it gets rough at Florence, you kind of just got to go in it, and if you hit it wrong, it just messes up your corner.
So me and you were probably the opposite here. You probably never got to drive on the old Lawrenceburg.
I did not.
I never got to drive on the new Lawrenceburg. So my experience as Lawrenceburg was a blast. I loved it. Nights that they had the sprint cars, it was a little...
Yeah,
you felt like a bobblehead, but it was still fun. I don't know if you've had this, but I always had guys and people tell me, if you can run good at Florence, you can run good anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I was horrible or great. I was probably one of those mid-pack guys. But anytime I went somewhere other than Florence, I always ran so much better than I did at Florence.
Yeah. And I remember a lot of that growing up too. Even when the Lucas guys would come to town, I'd hear a lot of them guys like, Florence is the toughest place to race in the nation.
Yeah.
It's the hardest track. I heard that from those guys. So to be able to race on that track again would be fun.
I don't think that's changed much either.
Probably. Yeah, it's probably just a different type of hard now.
Yeah.
So just like to be able to race on a track like that again would be fun. But times changed, and you just got to adapt, I guess.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of guys tell me that, man, they wish they had more late model races at Lawrenceburg, you know. So
I would show up to every one of them.
I'm hearing a lot of that.
I would. I really
out of
like
my
racing
control,
everything.
nothing I can do about that. But hey, I'm happy to listen. You know?
Yeah. It was definitely a fun race last year. I got out of the car smiling, that's for sure.
Right, it was fun. You had fun.
Exactly.
Didn't feel like you were working the whole time.
Yep. It was a good race. Robbie ended up getting the win, but I was happy running second. You know,
yeah.
It was. I think we did have a car to win there before things happened and stuff like that, and the left front got knocked off the car. But you can't control that. And at the end of the day, I mean, it was still a blast, and we were still competitive. And,
right.
So that's all you can hope for.
So do you have? Obviously, I know you're pretty good friends with Austin, like you mentioned, going fishing and stuff like that. Do you have is there anyone in particular that you look forward to racing against? Do you look forward to, like, oh man, this is going to be fun? Me and him are in the same race. Do you have that person that you're looking forward to? And then on the flip side of that, do you have that person you don't look forward to?
I don't really know if I have somebody that I look forward to racing. I've really never got to run Scott, just heads up, in a heat race or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's one that I've always wanted to, race.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to Mills about it, and me and him, it seemed like everywhere we went last year, we were next to each other.
Right.
And I finally told him, I was like, one of these times we're going to end up hitting each other.
Yeah.
I was like, just know it wasn't on purpose. Because we were just racing so close to each other week in and week out. So, I mean, I enjoy racing with Austin. We both give each other room. So, I mean, I do enjoy racing with him. I know what I'll get with him. If he leaves me a lane, I'll leave him a lane, stuff like that.
There's a good mutual respect
exactly.
there. Sure.
So a lot of guys you don't get that with. They'll throw a slider on you and not really care if
whether you're there or not. Exactly. It's happening.
So whether it be in a heat race or a feature, they don't care. So.
Yeah. I know. Gosh, I see. Like, I go back to my super dirt days. Man, it seemed like every week there was Kevin Blair or Chris Cruz Camp, and we were always side by side with each other somewhere. And then when I got into modifieds, it was Ray Bradford. Me and him were like always side by side somewhere. Or Jimmy Stricker, and he was in a mod for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, man, I'm always door to door with these guys somewhere. And it's like, we're not trying to be, but it's like, I don't know, maybe that's the class and where we were just always at, So.
Yep.
But definitely, I don't know that. There was probably one guy that I really didn't care for, but
I think there's always the one.
There was one,
and it can change year by year. So like, obviously, I've had some run-ins with some people.
Yeah.
Even at Florence, and I've held some grudges. They've held some grudges.
Yeah.
And,
I had two my very first year, and I ain't gonna lie, I held those grudges for a long time. One of them, I never really got to talk to the guy and get that straightened out. The other one, it squashed, and I don't think we ever really talked about it. Me and him may have a conversation about it. We may sit down and talk about it, and that'll probably be a good topic. And this guy probably doesn't even know that I held this grudge, but he's probably gonna know. I'm like, hey, we're good now, But this is a good opportunity for stuff like that.
Exactly, and time fixes everything. At the end of the day, a lot of the times that
maturity, you get older and you don't worry about the things that you used to.
Yeah, and if I'm mad at somebody for something, I probably don't even now remember what they did to me to make
me mad.
So,
one thing I'd say I have learned from Jesse Lay is it's like if you feel like you're done wrong or you get mad about something, let it go that night, talk about it 2 days later.
Yeah.
The next day or 2 days later, and that's always. And I'm like, you know what, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense, and usually that's the best thing. Now, obviously, if you're the guy that gets run over, you want the guy to come over to you that night. It goes even back before me and Austin were buddies like we are now. I wrecked him at Lawrenceburg one night. I mean, I didn't mean to. We came off two. I was all about to hit the wall.
Right.
Came down a little bit, hit him in the right front. It spun him down the back straight.
Right.
He was very upset that night. I knew he was. I knew I was in the wrong. So, but I knew how upset he was, so I just, I took the days, called him midweek, and I was like, hey, I didn't mean to by any means. So, and then now we're best friends.
Right.
And,
I usually try to tell the guys, being race director at Moeller in the driver's meeting, and I tell these guys, look, man, you're not going to solve anything tonight. Even if you wrecked a guy and you didn't mean to wreck the guy, that guy is probably not going to hear you apologize tonight. Call him tomorrow. Get his number. You guys can have a date later in the week.
Yep.
Worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about tonight because it's probably not going to get solved tonight.
Yep.
If you're going to go to somebody's hauler, it's probably not going to turn out good. Even if it does, not every situation turns out like that. Sometimes they're like, oh, that's fine. At least you came and said something to me.
Yeah.
Some guys are good with that, but you can't count on that, and it's not always going to work out that way.
Exactly.
So, it's just, time. It's good to let a little time pass and let cooler heads.
It can also, save you from another wreck in the future. If I run over somebody and I know it was my fault, I'm the first guy to their pit, apologize. I don't want to race people like that. I don't want them to race me like that. So, but on the flip side of that, if you race me like that, you're gonna get raced like that.
So. I remember the first time, man. I went. This was the old Super Dirt days, and my very first year racing. And I'll tell the story because it's kind of funny. And the guy's probably gonna see this. Mike Hacker. Mike had this bright yellow. Speaking of like Bart Hartman's. He had this bright yellow car, red numbers on it. It was a good-looking car, big Monte Carlo thing, and how could you miss it, man? I went into the corner and just drove straight, just plowed him right in the rear end, blasted him hard. I was like, oh, my God, Mike is like 10 feet tall. He's going to kill me. Man, I couldn't get out of that car quick enough because, man, I apologize. I didn't mean to hit you. I just drove in too hard, my bad, And he's like, oh, no, we're all good. I was like, I thought I was squished on that one.
We all have those moments. You learning and stuff like that. Yeah. I've gotten into some people on big time accident, and went down and apologized, and we're all good now. And as long as you apologize, that goes a long way.
Oh yeah, and that's what he said. Hey, you coming to me and talk to me, lets me know we're good. You didn't mean to. He said, if you wouldn't have come talk to me, he said, yeah, we'd have probably had a problem. I'm like, lesson learned.
Yeah, for sure. So.
All right, so 2022 season's looking a little different, a little more traveling. You guys don't normally do. You guys are usually right here at Florence. Like you said, it's hard to go somewhere else when you've got a place right here in your backyard.
It is, and a track that it is so nice. It has the crown jewel events, and 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
It's hard to drive past the racetrack
to
go to another one.
I think it was Vern Lefevre said it was years and years he'd never been to Brownstown. He said, how do you drive past two racetracks to go to another one that's 2 hours away, or an hour and a half away or whatever? So, yeah, I could see that too. I mean, I know a lot of guys from like Spilly and Hamilton. Those guys live over in the Lawrenceburg area, and, man, they drive right by Lawrenceburg and raced at Florence for
years.
Yeah, for years. I think they're back. I think they settled back in at Lawrenceburg now, but. Yeah, it's like, wow, that's tough.
Yeah, I remember those days of Spilly and Hamilton. And,
man, those guys put on some shows at Florence. I mean, when Spilly was in a late model too, man, he had some. Which, speak of Spilly, he's going to be coming up on the podcast here soon. We've already spoke about it. We haven't set a confirmed date, but so I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that'll be a good one for sure.
Yeah.
It'll be good to get other divisions and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I really want to try to spread out. I've done a legend guy. I've got a couple of compact guys on the books. Looking to get a few of those guys. Have actually stepped up. I've talked with Jody Shannon. We're going to sponsor a very small part in the King of Compact at Florence. Try to get the Slingin Dirt media name out there. Try to get some of those drivers as well this summer. I know Brandon Gibson Jr. and his dad GFAB, they come on the show and they're a little sponsor with us. So we definitely want to, just give everybody the props that we can and give them their opportunity to come on and talk about their cars as well. I know those guys are down in Screven this week. I don't think they had the weekend that they wanted, but man, it's great to see those guys to get to travel and hit the big races,
For sure, and that class is come a long way since I was in it for sure.
Oh, so, yeah, they're not just the Dodge Neons that they used to be.
$1,000 in the Neon back then. Now they have $1,000 in the roll cages and stuff. Probably.
Jesse told us that his first race car was $100. Like, man, what's $100 race car look like? I got to see this.
Exactly.
What kind of jalopy is this? Now you can't even get a tire for $100.
Yeah, and you want. Yeah, Jesse could have bought 3 cars back then for what a tire is nowadays.
For sure. So
tires just keep on going up.
Oh man, tires and everything. I haven't seen anything going down on pricing.
No, there's nothing at all. Sheets of aluminum. That's probably one of the biggest things that blew me away. Back when I started late models, it was $65 a sheet. Now it's $120.
I think I remember 50 and 55 days when I was building a couple of cars. It was, it's So where do you see that going price wise? I mean, it's not getting any better anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean they're going to end up pricing stuff out. You're going to see, just like Florence, more and more less guys being able to afford it. Mm-hmm. Josh is doing a lot of 5,000 win shows, which is good. Mm-hmm. I'll be there for those. Definitely not going to drive by a racetrack. It's paying $5,000 to win.
Right. Yeah, not a track that you've won at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a track that I have that many laps around.
Sure.
It helps a ton. It's a good baseline. If we go somewhere and maybe off a little bit, we can head back to Florence. Make sure everything's good.
Right.
But tires and the pieces of cars, motors are just everything keeps going up. I'd say you'll have your touring series, and then I don't know when, but at some point,
probably just your regional races at that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, last thing for sure that I definitely want to ask before we close is, we got to take Dad out of the equation because Dad's always one-sided. Dad's going to be favorite. So other than Dad, give me your Mount Rushmore, and not just your. You know what? I would like to say just Florence, but you know what? I'm going to open it up. Give me your Mount Rushmore of dirt late model drivers.
Top 5 or top 3, 4, sure. Scott Bloomquist is number 1.
Okay.
Not just because I run his cars. The things he's done in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s.
Yeah.
The things I think he's going to do this year. He's number 1. The things not only driving, but out of the car as well, he's done for the sport. There's nobody that's been able to sell T-shirts like that man has either.
Man, that guy's unbelievable.
Whether you hate him or you like him, you're making noise when they call his name.
Yeah.
So he's number 1 for sure. Once you get past that, it can get a little rocky in my mind. Billy Moyer has got to be up there with just the amount of wins and the wins he does have. Jack Boggs has got to be up there. And I know there's one more, and I can't think of his name right now.
You need a lifeline?
Yeah, I need a lifeline. Jeff Purvis. I could not. Me and Dad will sit here in the shop. There's a good interview of him up at Eldora, and just talking about his finishes. And it's like, you came here and you ran second, and then you came and won, and you came back and won again, and then you ran second. And your worst finish at Eldora is the 7th. And most guys go up there just hoping to make the race.
Right.
And his worst finish ever at Eldora was 7th. So I think if he stayed in dirt late model racing, he could definitely be number 1.
Could you imagine the races and the battles we'd have seen between him and Scott if he'd have stuck it in dirt a little longer?
So that's got to be the top 4. Boggs was good in '95.
That guy won some races.
Yeah. But I would say Billy Moyer would have to be 2, and Purvis is at 3.
Gotcha.
That would be my top 4. There's a lot of people that debate the top 1 and 2.
Yeah, when you start getting into people's personal feelings and everybody's got their own opinions, it's like, oh, I don't like the guy for this. It's like, well, okay, let's take that stuff out of here. Who's your favorite driver? And that's where a lot of people get their judgments clouded by, I think, is, they tend to judge people, and it's like, well, that really doesn't affect this guy as a driver, Yeah,
and me and Dad's talked about this, like, if we go on a road trip or something, I'll pretty much almost do this. And sitting in the car with him, just talking about old stuff, and I even asked him the question, all right, well, when do we start putting, your Overtons, your Shepherds, your Davenports into these conversations? Like, how long do they need to be racing, or how long do they need to be on top before you start talking about stuff like that? So I definitely think with the year Overton had last year, if he continues that.
Couple more of those, and that guy's there. I mean, Davenport's had a couple of those years too,
exactly,
where it's just like,
he's very good at Eldora and stuff like that. So I think maybe not now just because we're living in it, but years down the road, he'll definitely be in conversations like that.
It's at some point you got to think those guys have the potential or could pass some of those guys that are on the Mount Rushmores now.
Exactly. Yep. And it wouldn't take much to get on the list. As far as where they're at now, they don't have to do too much more in my eyes. I think they're definitely some top tier drivers.
Yeah. They're probably in the top 10s right now.
Oh, for sure. I would definitely put a couple of them in the top 10. And, with new races coming about every year, they come out with the Gateway Dirt Nationals, and, they keep coming up with newer races. It can and some of the pay is going up on a lot of these races. Josh is telling me it's like, man, when we get in their summertime this year, it's like, man, it seems like every week there's a 50,001 race somewhere. You know? And that's a lot of the thing that I've been looking at while doing the schedule. I don't think I have a race on there for under $3,000 probably, just because there is so much money.
Right.
You got the flow racing. I don't think they race for anything under 22,000.
Right.
So that's a huge payday midweek.
Yeah.
And then North-South paying 75,000. There's a lot of races. You got the Eldora Million, the same weekend as the Dream. Mm-hmm. I plan to go to Eldora this year for my first ever time at Eldora.
So you haven't raced at Eldora yet?
I have not. Never. I've been there to watch. Never to race. So.
Better fire up the iRacing machine there. get some practice.
Get some better laps.
Yeah.
If we probably would have done this interview after Eldora, I'd probably say Eldora's my favorite track.
We hope.
Yeah,
we hope.
Unless I go up there and really
stuff at the fence, and then we talk. Then we have a different conversation.
Yeah. Eldora's the worst track ever.
He definitely is.
But I think Eldora would definitely be. That's probably the Mount Rushmore #1 track.
Yeah.
If we're looking at tracks too, that's the #1 track in the nation. So.
It's definitely up there. Well, Trevor, before we wrap up, who do you guys think? Who's helping you guys out this year?
First and foremost, my parents, mom and dad. They've helped me from the beginning. Can't thank them enough. The rest of my family, my sister, Paige, my girlfriend, she helps me out a bunch, getting stuff ready weekly, helmet, stuff like that.
Right.
Making sure all the receivers good to go.
Yeah.
So couldn't do it without her.
It's always good to have that family support.
Exactly. And then just Russ, he's my tire guy. He comes down midweek, drives from all the way from Blue Ash all the way down here to
nice.
Do some tires for me. And he takes a lot of time on doing those. And
Scott been giving you some lessons.
Yeah, and he's been giving Scott some lessons here and there too. So he's very knowledgeable, and he takes his time, make sure everything's right. So he's taken a lot off my plate. Because getting the car ready all week is one thing, but then when you have to sit there and get tires and stuff ready, that can be a lot too. So him, Cameron and Bree, they come out to the racetrack every weekend and help. So just a lot of hands to help on the car. And then Carrie, they've been on the car for a long time now. So I can't thank them enough. Rich Poe with Valvoline, they've also been on the car for a super long time.
Right.
So just them, and then we got some new sponsors this year with Smokey Joe's. I got my barber, Evan, the Burley barber. Smith Trailer.
I wonder if Michael Lefevre's ever made it over there.
I don't know if he did or not. We may have to ask him about that. Dargy Racing Engines, and I can't thank Dargy enough. He built some great motors. Never really had a problem on anything from him. He's he'll tell you what you need, and if you don't need it, he won't sell it to you. So,
and hopefully he's able to get the parts that he needs to get them done. I know the guy's stacked up
there.
there.
We're waiting on pistons at the moment. So.
I think there's a lot of guys waiting on pistons.
I think that's the new trend. Is just waiting on pistons.
So. Good deal. All right, Trevor, we're going to wrap things up. We're going to throw the checkered flag on this episode. We appreciate having you on. Man, this is good stuff. This is exactly what I want. Sit down and just get into some of it, get to know who Trevor Landrum is. So if you see the Black 18 Toyota Supra going around the racetrack, this is the guy driving it. It's not just, that's just another car on the racetrack. Yeah, it is, but it's piloted by this man right here. So if you make it out to any of the racetracks this year, I think we're definitely, you'll see you at Florence, maybe Moeller a couple times.
Yeah, Moeller's on the schedule, Lawrenceburg, for the one race, unless we add more.
In case we add more, that's right.
If we add more, we'll be there. We got a lot of races, Moeller, Atomic, Portsmouth, Florence, Lake Cumberland, Richmond. There's, a lot of races around this area. I've never been to Atomic to race. I've never been to Portsmouth to race.
Hold on.
So be going out there for sure. So yeah, if you see us, come down and say hi.
Absolutely. Sounds good, folks. Well, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Check us out. Don't forget to like and share, subscribe, and you'll see us on here next week with another driver. Thanks.
Thank you.